All focus was on the events taking place in Parliament today. The man in question calls himself a top-grade professor who said anything he touches turns to gold. He had a lot to say. Who schooled who? Who vetted the other? Listen to this soundbite talking about politics and whether he will be driven by the politics of the day.
If you are worried that I'm the type who will start listening to if I'm not listening to Jubilee politics, why do you think I will listen to the other one? I shall not listen to any politics at all, because I believe even the position I'm being given requires that we remain neutral and just work and produce results.
So he had a lot of interesting things to say. I don't know if we should trust him, because he later said he doesn't trust himself. But I think the best place to begin is here with the linguistics. Maybe you can translate for the rest of us what he was saying in Parliament.
No, he also said, I don't lobby.
Yes.
I am a thoroughbred professional. I am completely apolitical. Failure is not part of my vocabulary.
So everything he touches
succeeds. But in terms of trust, actually, he didn't just say we shouldn't trust. He says he doesn't trust people. That means he doesn't trust himself. So they should not trust him. Let's just work.
Let's just work,
You know, he wrote a book, an autobiography. It's called Tower of Transformational Leadership. You know, he's a professor of urology and transplant surgery. And in his book, he speaks a lot about discipline and open door policy as the pillars of his leadership style. However, he goes into a ministry that has issues from here to Timbuktu. Okay, one of them, of course, the curriculum, and you can talk about that, and overcrowding in schools and teachers and all that. And Robert, we have some footage from Nakuru. About a school there. I want to talk about one of the issues that awaits Magoha when he takes over as Minister for CS for Education, if of course Parliament gives the okay. And that is a school called St. John's. That's the headmistress speaking. I'd like to hear her, please.
I urgently need 6 classrooms and at least more toilets so that our children may be capable to perform well.
Wanafunzi ni wengi zaidi kwa darasa, cause break time ikifika wakati wanaenda kwa hizo vio ni kupanga laini kungangania, na kuna wengine hata wanashindwa hata wanajimalizia hacha wakiwa kwa line.
Tunahofia tutashindwa watoto wetu tutawapeleka wapi, maana hii ni performing school.
That is a school called St. John's in Nakuru. It has over 1,700 students with 19 classes. And we did a quick divide, hesabu hapo, over 93 students in one classroom. So that queue you saw was the queue of them going to the toilet.
It is true.
Going to the toilet.
Yes, during break time.
And some of them, they said, actually have to just finish their business before because I mean, it's such a long way.
It's a long way to get there. So that is one of the issues that faces Magoha as he takes over. Because remember, we are talking about 100% transition. That's even in secondary schools, and we've had issues across the country from schools about capacity and training and even spaces for the students. It's an amazing move. 1 million children who finished class 8 did their KCPE. Getting a chance at an education is amazing. It's a good idea, but we did not have enough capacity for this.
Two things.
Yes.
Magoha is another Matiangi. So
on steroids.
Yeah. So you can expect a lot of work from him. He will be out there. I mean, we saw what he did with the Kenya National Examination Council, and it seems to have yielded some fruit. At least now people trust that when candidates sit for KCP and KCSE, at least something is going to happen, and the runaway theft of examinations is now being dealt with in some way. I hope he continues with it now that he will be taking even a bigger role in terms of managing the entire ministry.
Right.
But that said, he also needs to deal, just like we have said for Mutiambai in the police force, Magoha needs to deal with the basics. That school that we've seen, that overcrowding, is even better. I mean, we've seen footage of some
children
kids
learning
in
outside
school
on
learning under trees, you know, seated on rocks. So he needs to get the basics right. Is it a question of quality or quantity?
Quick one, Francis. Do you think he can?
I think he can, but he has to show that he can and go out there and do it.
But he kept
truth be
saying
told, the Ministry of Education has some of the most potent cartels in this country.
True, and that's one of the issues.
Most potent. And it's also one of the heavily funded ministries.
Absolutely.
When you look at the budget every financial year.
Allocation.
But he needs to get the basics right.
Linus, what else does he need to do?
No, first, there is no question about the competence of George Magoha. It's self-evident from the way he expresses himself. I mean, today it looked like he actually successfully vetted the committee in Parliament, lecturing them on a few things, especially around sex education. What is impressive about him is he's in charge of the topics. He's in charge of the situation. So, and this is something that we had seen going missing after Fred Matiang'i left the Ministry of Education. Now, the Ministry of Education is a very hands-on job. It's thoroughly hands-on.
Every day. There's parents, no low seasons, right?
You're dealing with no low seasons. It's 7 days a week. It requires the kind of energy he has projected in his vetting session today. And I think, first of all, because of the force of his personality, this is a person who is going to get things done. I think the team at the Ministry of Education, right, all the flaws of that ministry, will get working. And that is where it starts. If you don't take charge at the ministerial level, then you have no business visiting children or visiting schools because you do not have the team with you. I see Magoha going to rally Jogoo House so quickly, getting the teams working again, getting them to be efficient, and fixing some of these challenges.
You know, there's something you said about the personality of the man. Do you think we get obsessed with the big man syndrome? So we have him and we have a strong personality like Matiang'i, whom he says, you know, they're very close. He was even his referee, to the extent that, you know, Matiang'i was able to institute the curriculum reform. And then when somebody else came in, it was a... So is it a personality issue, or is it structures that are put in place? Do we get obsessed with, you know, or what is? What do you think?
In my view, it's a little bit of both. But we're talking about the magnitude of the mess that is there. That actually to take someone who has a degree of madness, if I am to use that terminology, for things to get moving. But I noticed that he kept talking about if they give me the funds, and he's aware that this is going to cost us big time. Think about the new curriculum that we've been talking about. It's going to cost us huge sums of money that no one even knows whether we have right now. Part of the reason why that curriculum has floundered is because of that. So I think that he recognizes that some of the things that need doing require money. So it's basically putting the flag up here that if I don't succeed in this, remember I had told you that it's going to take money to do some of these things. But he actually, I think, has the right sort of mindset, and the fact that he's been at NEC for this time means that he understands the education sector quite well.
He's been in academic
the fact that he's an academic through and through.
He was VC at UON for a while.
And I want to say that it's not about being a big man. It's just something that comes as a result of how we do things lately. This vetting exercise is new. It's since 2010 and this rearrangement of our constitutional setup that then enabled us now to actually interview people for positions. This is not how ministers for education used to be appointed. It used to be the president naming and then that is it. Now, when they appear before the House, when they appear before a parliamentary committee, they must show what they are able to do. And that's what we are seeing on the floor today. We are all starting to say, okay, he expressed himself very clearly. We can start weighing the competence of somebody because they are appearing before these vetting committees. So it's not about big men. In fact, the people who used or can use only patronage to get to these positions, it's going to be very
Linus, you speak about Magoha. Gashuri, 1 second. Can I?
Please.
Okay. You speak about the vetting process and what we see.
Yes.
I don't know why this reminds me of the vetting of the former sports minister, Echesa, because he started speaking and then media was asked to leave. It was not as open as Magoha's was. So that reminds me of what exactly, you know, we were a lot of people looking at the social media and everyone's opinion about Magoha is from how it went today, how the vetting went today, how of course he schooled these guys, how he spoke, how he sold himself, and they're all impressed saying they feel this guy can do the job. But we didn't get a chance to judge that way with the former sports minister.
Linus, I
with hindsight, we didn't have to.
Linus, I would to a great extent disagree with you. You see, the vetting procedure in Parliament is just rubber stamping. Call it what it is.
But they said it themselves. In fact, when they were establishing the House rules.
It is. You don't need to be a rocket scientist to know that Magoha will be confirmed as the CS for Education. He will be appointed.
Right.
If it was about the quality of vetting, some of the people who have held ministerial positions since 2013 to date ought not to have.
Okay.
Ought not to have. Look at the first term in the Uhuru Kenyatta administration. There's some guys who appeared before that vetting panel, and you clearly saw they probably didn't have the capacity to head the ministries that they were assigned, but they passed for obvious reasons. It's also the charisma and the ability that cabinet secretaries shows. Some ministers or some cabinet secretaries even look bigger than the ministries they are heading.
Okay.
Let me give you an example.
Yes,
if, for example, you gave Matiang'i the Ministry of Fisheries, you would start thinking it's a big ministry.
It handles sharks.
Yeah, it handles sharks and stuff and crocodiles. Yeah. When John Mishuki was the minister in charge of environment, people started thinking, by the way, this is a serious
Cleaned
ministry.
Up Nairobi River.
Or something. So the personality and the charisma of the person handling that ministry is very critical.
Okay. I want us to wind up, but this is something else I think Professor Magoha should really take a look at when he gets the job, because that's definitely
it's not an if anymore.
It's not an if. TVET institutions, the return of this skilled labor that's been in the country, and the uptake of that is very low, despite all of these attempts at trying to get to youth. I mean, there was a study that was done where it's 275,000 youth are enrolling in about 1,900 institutions, as opposed to over 500,000 who are going into universities. And there was this study that was done by Zizi Afrique, and they were talking about, so what is it? Why aren't youth taking this up? Targeted communication, essential. Also, some of the youth who were asked were saying, we don't like these TVET institutions. We go there, we're in uniform, we're being treated like we're in schools. And also because in this country, a diploma is still, and a certificate are still seen to be less valuable than a degree. And with us going into manufacturing, and with the Big Four agenda, skilled labor will be highly important that we need. The death of polytechnics is something that he's going to have to make sure he revives with the TVETs. I think that is something important to look at.
And still fix university education.
And another issue that we both feel strongly about, Yvonne, is about the teenage pregnancies and pregnancies of students in school. And I'll just talk a bit about what the TSC announced a few days ago, that it sacked over 1,000 teachers who have been having sexual relations with their students. And this was in areas from Kakamega to Kisii to Kitui to Homa Bay to Bungoma to Siaya. And during the exams season last year, both primary and secondary school, we had instances, numerous cases of girls giving birth during the exam or after or before or pregnant while doing the exam, and it was a big issue. And I still think that we really need to concentrate a lot on that, because they're saying only 2% of the majority of pregnancies in the schools affect students who are actually in day schools.
And while at it, the Daily Nation should stop calling it love affairs. It is rape.
There's no love there.
There's no love.
But of course,
they're underage. It is not a love affair. But carry on.
And talking about love, there's also some love about corruption. Is that